It tells time simultaneously in Monte Carlo, Beverly Hills, London, Paris, Rome, and Stade. Welcome, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by for another retro LaserDisc showcasing video. If you guys have been watching my videos for the past year or so, you might know that I've been getting into actually buying, strangely enough, used VHS, factory sealed or used, showcasing old ancient VHS from the 80s and things. And I've also been doing the same thing with LaserDiscs over the past year or so. Been getting, re-getting into buying VHS and LaserDisc, which might be interesting, might not be, whatever. And over the winter, you might know that if you watch some of my other recent LaserDisc showcasing videos, you might know that over this past winter, as so often is the case in frigid, bitter cold Minnesota, I found myself laying in bed under the covers with a tablet on eBay, searching, to see what kind of VHS or what LaserDiscs I could acquire, and having gotten the Godfather original LaserDisc and showcase that, and then Saturn III, and then Meatballs, I'm just like racking my brain. What else would be really cool to get, like one of the early home video, the first LaserDisc release of, and it's like, oh my God, why didn't I think of this? I normally only think about this movie around November, December, because it's kind of like a Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's kind of a movie, so I don't really generally think about this movie after New Year's. But this movie came to mind. I'm like, oh my God, I grew up with Trading Places, and I'm like, wow, Trading Places would really be a cool ancient LaserDisc to acquire. I first saw it, I grew up with Trading Places, first saw it recording it off of TV in the 80s, so, the very first film to tape transfer of Trading Places I would have seen was probably the original one that was edited for television. I can still remember some of the edits and things, some of the things that were omitted or changed or just completely not there or whatever. But yeah, like Trading Places, that might be another one. Like Saturn III and Meatballs might be not very expensive, because no one cares about getting the original LaserDisc of Trading Places. So I was able to find a reasonably priced Trading Places original LaserDisc on eBay. So stopping on by to showcase the original North American LaserDisc release of Trading Places. As we can see on the bottom back corner here, copyright 1983, Paramount Pictures Corporation, all rights reserved. Also manufactured by Pioneer Video Incorporated, by license under several pending patents, printed in USA.
Oh yes, I'm sure a lot of people went belly up on that one.
Taking a closer look at the front cover, how cool is this? If I'm understanding correctly, this LaserDisc came out the same year that the movie came out in theaters, 1983. At least that's the years that I'm getting on the back, for the release year of the film and the release year of the LaserDisc. But I so often is the case where I really prefer the original theatrical poster art, or in this case the original home video cover art, to any art that they'll end up doing in the future for future home video releases where they change the poster / cover art. I always generally prefer, in this case, I generally prefer the original theatrical poster / cover art for this, LaserDisc cover. This is just, really, really cool. On the top corner, you can see closed caption logo and a little laser video disc band. It's really cool how it's kind of in cash money green there, as you can see as well. Theatrical poster represented here on the front cover of this LaserDisc or laser video disc cover. Just happy as all pigs and shit. Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy, just, they're in the money, they're in the money. Obviously they're very happy about being in the money. Who wouldn't be? Kind of interesting, the border they gave to the little picture of Wall Street or whatever the hell that is there. Kind of a money, North American, dollar bill, cash money motif for the little border there on the bottom. The Trading Places logo looks like kind of dollar bill, or I should say just, whatever, just North American dollar currency, the cash, what's it called? It's called the dollar, yeah. Cash currency motif going for the, Trading Places logo. All fancy schmancy like the wonderful, North American dollar, cash, whatever you want to, currency, currency, the currency that we all lovingly have or don't have and use and don't use or whatever. On the bottom corner we can see LaserVision logo, which is the official logo of LaserDisc format. Extended play. Other bottom corner we can see the Paramount Home Video logo in its glorious Paramount blue. Taking a look at the back, on the top in the center we can see the Trading Places logo, top corner, catalog number LV1551. Under the Trading Places logo, abbreviated credits there. Off to one side is the blue Paramount logo. In this case it's not the Home Video logo, it's just the Paramount Pictures logo back when it was Gulf Western Company, the good old days. Under that we can see copyright 1983 Paramount Pictures Corp. And because this is a LaserDisc release, it's the exact same size as a vinyl LP record, you've got all of this real estate on the back for all kinds of still photos to represent the movie. In this case we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Eddie Murphy and the famous Ralph Bellamy and Don, how do you say it? Amici? I'm probably not saying that right. Schooling Eddie Murphy on how they're a couple of bookies. Got Dan Aykroyd at the pawn shop there selling his wristwatch, which is singularly unique. Other bottom corner here we've got Eddie Murphy accosting Don Amici. I've got no money to give you. On the bottom center there we've got a photo from the main four characters on the train. Dan Aykroyd, who's got his face was by a tailpipe of a vehicle. The sexy ass Jamie Lee Curtis in her little frickin' Inga from Sweden outfit. Eddie Murphy making fun of Africans and that other guy in his little outfit. And bottom on the right is Jamie Lee Curtis' character protecting her investment in the Dan Aykroyd character. You can also see below the photos there, 1983 for the release here, the film color, 118 minutes and rated R. Eddie Murphy established himself as a comedy star of the highest magnitude as Billy Ray Valentine, a hustler from the ghetto. His fellow Saturday Night Live alumnus Dan Aykroyd also stars as Louis Winthorpe III, a wealthy investment executive at Duke Brothers, a Wall Street firm. The fun starts when the rich and greedy Duke brothers wager a bet on whether a born loser could become as successful as Winthorpe if put in the proper environment. And if a prig like Winthorpe were to lose all, would he turn to a life of crime? The Dukes arrange for that to happen. Valentine becomes the golden boy of the commodities market, and Winthorpe finds himself out in the streets. The two pawns meet, compare notes, figure out who's doing this to them, and Valentine and Winthorpe set in motion some hilarious revenge plans of their own. Below the synopsis you can see the early to mid-80s Paramount Home Video logo in glorious Paramount blue. LaserVision logo once again. All important warning FBI information as well. On the very bottom we can see this video disc is extended play. In this format it can offer chapter search, scan, pause, and dual channel sound, depending on the recorded contents. We can also see on the bottom, when not in use, place video disc in jacket and store in cool, dry place.
Department of Agriculture gets those estimates from all over the country. Pork bellies, soybeans, frozen orange juice.
And taking a look at this, we're going to do something on this channel that I think is a first for this channel. The actual sleeve for the LaserDisc in this case was actually something of interest. Normally it's just some little kind of plastic bag thing that you slip the disc in. In this case it was like a paper sleeve. Paper sleeve isn't so uncommon, but I don't generally see this that often, where the paper sleeve has this like, I don't know what, frickin' Egyptian artwork on here. I thought it was kind of interesting, so we're actually going to show you the paper LaserDisc sleeve in this case. Yeah, I look at this, the artwork on here, and I just want to go new. I don't imagine this is just a sleeve made specifically for Trading Places. I can only assume this is what in the early 80s all the Paramount LaserDiscs, were shipping in this, paper sleeve. But what's interesting about the paper sleeve is where you can see the LaserDisc label through. It's actually not just air or nothing. It's actually a little bit of the plastic kind of, really fine plastic cellophane-y kind of material that they'd end up just switching. They'd end up over the course of LaserDisc life just ditching the paper sleeves and just going to like just the kind of the cellophane. I don't know what you'd even want to call it. Just the very fine, non-coarse, whatever, plastic kind of bag sleeve that LaserDiscs are normally stored in. But this is the early 80s when they're treating stuff a little more, or treating LaserDiscs maybe a little more royally in this case. So I wanted to showcase the actual Egyptian, apparently, LaserDisc paper sleeve here. Taking a closer look at the side 1 label here, it's a glorious Paramount blue color, and all the majority of the information is kind of interesting like silver. Top we've got the at the time early 80s Paramount logo, which is still the Gulf Western Company. Early to mid 80s Paramount Home Video logo. On the left there, Laser Vision logo, warning information. On the right, catalog number, extended play, is also known as CLV. You can see a number 1 for the side 1 of a 2-sided LaserDisc release. On the bottom there we can see the title in black. It's interesting how the catalog number, the side, LaserDisc side, and the title and the copyright release year of the film is in black, and everything else is a silvery color. It really makes you wonder how they decide what's going to be what color. But Trading Places, of course, can be read on the bottom there. Copyright 1983 Paramount Pictures Corp. You can see around the perimeter of the label, all rights reserved, manufactured by Pioneer Video Incorporated by license under several pending patents, printed in USA. And if you want to know what the side 2 label looks like, just imagine a 2 where the 1 is. It was really interesting to see the original film-to-tape transfer of Trading Places for the first time in such a long time. I watched this a lot, my taped-off TV version in the 80s, but I don't think I watched it too much in the 90s. And then I think 2002 might be the very first time it ever came out on DVD. And the very first DVD, I think, of Trading Places, if I'm not mistaken, was actually had a 5.1 remix. And upon getting this original LaserDisc and watching that, I realized that, oh my God, they redid sounds on the DVD or the 5.1 version of Trading Places. They redid sounds, they redid music, and all this kind of stuff. And it's funny because unlike Friday the 13th, the Friday the 13th films, which I saw just on repeat as a kid and just teenager and early 20-something, and just year after year on repeat. So I really the original versions of those, like sound-wise, are just ingrained into my brain. So I know I can tell the difference between the original mono on all the Friday the 13th films and the redone 5.1 with added whatever ambient sound or added sound effects or whatever. Or in the case of the twig snapping in New Beginning, they actually put it in there, I think, just once on the 5.1 version versus the twice in the original mono version. Admittedly, it's the same sound, just used twice. Maybe the sound guy who did the 5.1 remix was like, well, to use the same sound, one after another is kind of archaic, so I'll just have it happen once or whatever. But these kind of things, in movies like Friday the 13th, I noticed, but not having seen, the original audio, or not having heard the original audio of Trading Places, probably since the 80s or maybe somewhere around in the 90s. I can't remember if I actually in the 90s would have come across a previously, an actual VHS cassette bought at the store. I don't know when the first time I actually saw the R-rated version of Trading Places. I can only assume I had a VHS of Trading Places, store-bought R-rated version in the 90s to watch. But, at any rate, when I got the DVD, and I can only assume the 2002 DVD is the first one, 5.1, that's how pretty much I watched Trading Places for the most of my, I guess adult life or whatever, and that's the sound I got used to. And it was really interesting going back to this version, just hearing little sound effects, things change, this and that. And the most notable thing that changed is the music. I don't know what the original, I didn't see this in the theater, of course, so I don't know what, you know, the music on the train would have originally been, but, you know, on the DVD and the Blu-ray and stuff, the music on the train is, you know, one of the songs is like, come on baby, do the locomotion, you know, that, and I just thought, I thought I could remember hearing that song on the TV, but it just seemed so like that's what it was just meant to, like it had just always been there. But then watching, you know, the LaserDisc version, that song and all of the songs that are on the DVD and the Blu-ray releases and stuff of Trading Places aren't even in the movie on the train scene. So it's like all different, really quiet. I think there's music in the background, but it's like really quiet, and I don't even know if it's real songs or what. So it was really interesting seeing this from an audio standpoint and realizing that, wow, they changed sound, you know, when they put out the 5.1, you know, DVD and Blu-ray and stuff. So that was kind of interesting. This is one of those rare occasions where, you know, I'm more familiar with the 5.1 remix than I am the original mono, so that's kind of interesting. So it was just a blast from the past watching this, the original film-to-tape transfer of Trading Places. Like I say, it's not too common that the release year of the film and the release year of the LaserDisc are the same year, but unless they screwed something up or whatever, I can only assume that's true. So this frickin' LaserDisc came out the year the movie came out in theaters, if I'm to believe the, you know, the years printed on the packaging. But I gotta tell you, watching this film-to-tape transfer, the original film-to-tape transfer of Trading Places on North American home video was definitely a hoot. Just seeing the original version that people saw in the 80s of this was really, really cool. And, you know, obviously this movie exists in high definition and also 4K to enjoy that way. But like I say, as time goes on, I find myself just kind of longing for the days of old and trying to find the original film-to-tape transfers of movies that are beloved to me, to experience them how I originally experienced them in the 80s as a kid. And it's always, you know, this definitely isn't 4K or even HD or even DVD, but this is, you know, the original home video version of this film, and indeed so many films, have its own charm, even though it might not be the, you know, the slam bang spiffy super high fidelity that everyone is used to these days. There's still a hell of a charm to the original, you know, home video releases of so many of these movies, in this case Trading Places. Another interesting thing to note about this release of Trading Places is just like something I can remember them doing on the first home video release of Friday the 13th, Part 7, the end credits on this version are actually video credits. You can tell they're not the 35mm film credits, they're actually redone video credits. So I'm not exactly sure why the hell that is the case. Maybe it has to do with something about the music that was in the original theatrical version and then in the version we know now on, you know, Blu-ray and 4K and stuff, and the music that is omitted from this version. Maybe they had to take the credit for those songs out of this version. For some reason, the end credits on this home video version of Trading Places are video end credits. So I guess that's something they do if something changes maybe for the home video version that wasn't that way for theatrical version. Who the hell knows? And maybe the songs were originally there, then they had to take them out for home video, and then later on in the, you know, early 2000s when they did the 5.1 remix, they could put the songs back in and they could have the normal 35mm closing credits. Who the hell knows? But it was a kind of not too common of a thing for these, you know, a movie from the 80s on home video to have like the video credits. So I definitely didn't want to forget to mention that. That's just weird. Guess that pretty much does it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, we'll catch you on the next video.
By the way, food and rent are not the only things around here that cost money. You sleep on the couch.